Okay, so hi, welcome to Zodi again. This video will continue that series of language search into mastery. I made one video a month ago regarding the reading part only, and I discussed the first section, the first section, and one student had liked that video. So, and she had requested me to make one more video, or I think two more videos, or maybe many more videos regarding this exam. And I, she's the one lucky. So first of all, sorry, Lucky, it's taken me so long to make the next video. The thing is that I'm swamped with work. I have a lot of students to teach, and I'm the only one. I do not hire teachers to teach my students. I devote my time only, and there were some personal issues also, so I could not get time to make one more video. But I'm doing it now. I hope you will like it. And if you've not taken the exam, this might help you now. If you've taken the exam, I would love to hear that you've already scored your desired score. So let's start the video. Let's start the topic, sorry. So I'll discuss the second part now. That's the sentence, using and text completion, if I could say. And what we have to do is that we have to understand the passage and insert some sentences in these blanks. And honestly, this one is not so difficult if you just understand the overall context of the passage. And if you understand the train of thought of the combination of the blank, the sentence before the blank, and the sentence after the blank, if you can get total understanding of these three, and if you're able to make something cohesive here, coherent here, then you are good to go. Because overall, also, I don't think you need to have you know uh, pro level understanding of the whole passage. You may not be able to understand a certain part of the excerpt or the passage, but if you can understand the whole passage, nothing is like that. But even if you're not able to do so, if you understand the chunks around the blank itself, then it will be, I think, enough. As you know, I scored a 47 on 50 in the reading part of the LanguageCert C2 Master exam. I can show you. Yeah. So, um, but I had not prepared for this exam before I took it because I don't get time to prepare for these exams. Whatever I know, I just apply to sail through these English exams. But I can teach you something regarding it. It will help you. And let me just confirm if the volume is fine now. Yeah. So let's get to the thing. Listening to music relies on memory, quite easy. We make sense of what we hear by framing it in the context of what we have already heard. So the starting was very general, and the second sentence has actually elaborated on it. It has explained what the generic form states in the first sentence. So listening to music relies on our memory, and we make sense of what we hear by comparing it with something that we have heard before. So whatever our comprehension of music is, maybe currently, we kind of understand it using the observations that we've had before, musical observations, of course. We don't have a memory box into which we dump an entire tune. Now, it has mentioned that there is no straightforward mechanism of putting things into something else. It's not that your brain takes a tune and puts it into a memory box, kind of figurative here. So it's you know we will of course have to have something that continues this point only, because afterward we have a blank, and let's see what is there after the blank. We group the pixels. So pixels, the small particles of music into lumps with recognizable um, outlines. a process called chunking. So if we say before the blank, it is that we do not have a memory box. First of all, it has negated the possibility of something being totally straightforward, that you take something and put it into something else. And there's a blank afterward. And then there's a talk of pixels, something very small, that you take pixels and you um, make them into lumps. Of course, lumps are larger than pixels. A lump could be of this size, a pixel is of this size, maybe. So, and there are some rules that the outlines are recognizable. And the second rule, of course, I've already mentioned that one thing is made into another. And this process is called chunking. To do this, we use subconscious rules that help us decide if the nodes belong together. And that already seems very obvious that it is not something that we do deliberately. It happens subconsciously. We do not have any active participation in whatever the comprehension procedure is. Our brain does it by itself. Unifying features such as a small melodic interval step, such as small unifying features such as small melodic interval steps and shared tonality provide the glue that binds them. So there are certain unifying features, the features that the brains use to make you understand the music. Uh, those features have been termed unifying features, and some examples are given like melodic interval steps, like there might be some highs and lows, and shared tonality if the music is sad or maybe energetic or maybe something of different nature. So the brain might actually compare the tonalities also, like sad for sad, uh, that energetic for energetic, peppy for peppy, something of that sort. Provide the glue that binds them. So again, something that I've already mentioned. So if we see this whole paragraph talks about the introduction that how music is understood by us. It clarifies that there is no direct mechanism that you hear something and you get a grasp of it. You have a, you have something internalized. You have something natural that kind of you know it kind of takes steps to make you understand the thing, and that procedure, that mechanism is subconscious, and it doesn't have something as a whole. It has chunks, it has lumps that are used to make you understand music, musical features, and other musical things. So let's see what the answer is. I solved this sheet before. Rather, we remember structures and patterns with varying degrees of accuracy and which fade from memory at various rates. Now, rather is a very important word here. If you see before the um, blank, we don't have a memory box in which we dump an entire tune. So it has negated the possibility of something being there in its totality. And when we say something that we do not do this, rather we do that, there's a change of tone. There's a change of you know tonality, that the antithesis was not done, but the other thing is done. So that has happened here also. That something doesn't take an entire tune, but it takes, or we remember, structures and patterns with varying degrees of accuracy and which fade from memory at various rates. So we do not have tunes as they are in their totality, but we kind of extract structures and patterns so that we can use them afterward. We group the pixels of music into lumps with recognizable outlines, structures and patterns outlines, a process called chunking. And to do this, whatever the subconscious mind does is stated afterward. So let's move ahead. Dash, if we had to encode it in our brains, note by note, we'd struggle to make sense of anything more complex than the simplest children's songs. So Before the first part of this paragraph is a blank, and if you see there's a pronoun here, there's a pronominal reference here using the singular pronoun it. So there should be something over here that can be referred to using the singular pronoun. Of course, it. Just let me check the volume. I'm very afraid today if my volume, if my voice is getting recorded or not, because I've had a Zoom accident yesterday. I think it is happening. Yeah. I'm very chary today, sorry. So that it has to have something before, only then can we use it. Um we would struggle to make sense of anything more complex than the simplest children's songs. So now, before it has cleared out that we have something in bits, and now it has started to talk about the opposite. As in, if that were not the case, if we uh, had no, I think it's actually, I would say, a continuation of the topic, like why we not have something interpreted note by note. So it says that if we had to encode or maybe interpret something note by note, we would struggle to make sense of anything more complex than the simplest children's songs. So there should be something before this that talks about something being encoded note by note, because we can state the opposite when we have stated the opposite of the opposite. That means if I say I don't eat food, if I had to eat food, I would have to go out. So something of that sort is here. If we had to encode it in our brains note by note, we would struggle to make sense of anything more complex than the simplest children's songs. So if it has clarified that why we don't do this, it must have been there that something is not done. Only then can we, clarify that we don't do this because of this reason. Um, and the reason is that in order to understand more complex things, we have to follow a certain procedure. Our brains have to follow a certain procedure. Of course, most accomplished musicians can play compositions containing many thousands of notes entirely from memory without a note out of place. Now, this is very easy to understand. If you ask a pianist to start a piece of music from a certain point in the middle of a phrase, she'll probably have to mentally replay the music from the start of a phrase until reaching that point. The music is not simply laid out in her mind to be picked up from an arbitrary point. Arbitrary matlab random. So after praising musicians, even the passage states that even they have to follow certain procedure to be able to play a certain piece or sing a, these are pianists, so they will play a certain piece. That means even they have to look for something that aids their performance. They have performances, or they have to reach a certain point to be able to continue from that. It's not that they, if you just tell them that you have to do this, they will just out of a, that they will in a jiffy start playing the piece. They will have to in their mind reach a point where they can actually become able to start a performance. So even they are reliant on something that is procedural. Dash, it's rather like describing how you drive to work. You don't reel off the names of roads as an abstract list, but have to construct your route by mentally retracing it. Again, the rather thing, and I would say there should be something opposite before. So now we have a kind of analogy. Analogy means that something is done in a certain pattern, and something else follows a similar pattern or the same pattern. For instance, since he is a doctor, his son is a doctor. A thing analogous to this would be, since he is a musician, his son is a musician. So something that follows the same pattern. So the analogy, the second part here that we have been given is that drivers don't have an abstract list or a simple list of maybe geographical points. They have to make a trajectory in their mind using those points for them to be able to, you know, continue on a path. It's not that you have these geographical points. For instance, I live in Amritsar, so I cannot say uh, Trillium Mall, maybe then Celebration Mall, and then the Mall of Amritsar. I would have only the list will not do. I'll have to make a, I'll have to join the dots. I'll have to make a mental trajectory, a mental path for me to be able to, you know, go on that path itself. I will not be able to, okay, I just know the names and I'll move on the streets or on the roads. I'll have to have a particular direction in my mind that from that point I have to go to that point, and from that point I have to go to that point, and these will be the, you know, paths, intermediate paths that I'll follow. So maybe something of that sort happens in the music department also. So let's see. Let's solve the second one. This chunking is vital for cognition of music. Cognition means understanding. So we've talked about chunking before. It's like it was the getting together of pixels into making those lumps. So if we had to encode it in our brains note by note, we'd struggle to make sense of anything more complex than the simplest children's songs. So yeah, with chunking, you do not do anything note by note because you have a cluster. You have many notes together. So this chunking is vital. In absence of it, we'll be unable to understand something complex. So chunking is vital. That means something not being note by note is essential or vital, because if it were note by note, we would struggle. And after that, this seemingly awesome feat of recall is made possible by remembering the musical process, not the individual notes as such. So, if you remember, in that part, I told you that it is not only about knowing the points, but the patterns. So, here the same thing, here a similar thing has been mentioned. As I told you, there must be an analogy because it's like doing that. Suppose you're teaching your son how to maybe how to make perhaps how to learn something maybe, or how to not able to get a proper example. So suppose you are explaining to your child how to make maybe noodles, um, the noodles that are there in a packet, and you just have to put them into boiling water and add the spices and all. So you can make an analogous situation that son, you just have to take a pan full of water, as you take one for making tea. So noodles have been compared to tea, or noodle making has been compared to noodle tea making. So this is also an analogy, and this is also an analogy where you have first talked about the thing that recalling is a process and not a list of random points, as is the case with the thing when we actually have to move from one place to another. We do not have only points, but also we have patterns, we have paths, we have trajectories, not individual points. I hope it's clear up to this point. Now, the contour of a melody, how it rises and falls in pitch, as in, I hope you're able to pitch as in how shrill a voice is or how mellow it is or something, is one of the most important clues for memory and recognition. So now it is mentioned that the counter, this counter mechanism plays a great role. Then there's a blank. So there's a praise, there's some praise for this counter element, and then there's a blank. And most of the spontaneous, charmingly wavered songs. Wavered means unusual or not proper or improper, not in a bad way, but unusual kind of things. Charmingly wavered songs that children begin to sing from around 18 months contain brief phrases with an identical repeated content. So the thing is, now we have something that is praising something else, a sentence praising the function of pointers in making us understand music. And then there's a blank, and then there is this conjunction and. That means something similar must have been there, you know, the part that has been eliminated that we have to select now. And most of the spontaneous, charmingly wavered songs that children begin to sing from around 18 months contain brief phrases with an identical repeated contour. So the praise is here also. The praise is here, as in even here we are, getting to know that contours play a lot of, contours have a lot of importance in this regard. And there is one more element that we are talking about children singing song, and there's this conjunction and also that means there must be something before it that talks about children and pointers, or maybe something related to that. Of course, we have a set of options, and the best one has to be chosen from the set. So let's see. Even babies as young as 5 months will respond to an altered heartbeat when a melody changes its contour. So the first sentence had stated that contours help us understand music or sounds. So this one continues the phrase that even babies respond to, you know, contours or changes in contours. So fine. Even babies as young as 5 months will respond with an altered heartbeat when a melody changes its contour. So that phrase using the maybe children context or the baby context has been continued in the latter part of this paragraph, and most of the spontaneous, charmingly wavered songs that children begin to sing from around 18 months contain brief phrases with an identical repeated contour. After that, musically untrained adults asked to sing back an musically untrained adults asked to sing back an unfamiliar melody might not get a single note right, yet will capture the basic contour. The praise continues, as in, even if you're not able to sing or your notes might not be right, but the contour would be your forte, perhaps, that you'll be able to interpret the contour dash. This is essentially what young children do when they learn to sing a song. They make rather arbitrary guesses at the right pitch steps and produce a generally compressed version which is recognizable. So if you see here, it's easy to capture the basic contour. There is some compression here that helps us recognize something. So that might be the case here that the of course it has to be, you know something that praises contours, and that may have an element of something being compressed also, because that would take along both the former part and the latter part. And familiar tunes remain recognizable when the contour is compressed. And familiar tunes remain recognizable when the contour is compressed. And this compressed, this, compression kind of thing, or this compression mechanism is essentially used by whom? Let's see, young children. So they have compressed versions which are recognizable. So this continues the flow. The fifth one, that the compression is necessary. Predictability can be pleasurable rather than boring, easy to understand. We'll belt out the chorus of a favorite song with gusto. Gusto means confidence. Belt out means you sing something very loudly. So we'll belt out the chorus of a favorite song with gusto. And when a tune reappears unexpectedly, it's like bumping into an old friend. So this is quite, I would say, positive ending. Something is pleasurable. We are doing something with gusto. We bump into an old friend. Bump into means we accidentally meet him. So the ending is quite positive, that because of the predictability, we are able to be confident. And if a tune reappears unexpectedly, it's like bumping into an old friend. So yeah, suppose you are at a karaoke and you get the gist of the song, you get the pattern of the song, and you're able to sing. So that means you have had the confidence to be able to be in front of the audience, and to be able to sing in front of them. So that tone, this positive tone, has to be continued in the last sentence also, because you do not end something with something opposite, with something else that is opposite, I would say. And that's there in sentence 6, sorry, sentence E. Once the recognition dawns, once you get to recognize the thing, we know that we know what is going to come next, and that can be delightful. So the positive uh, tone is continued in this sentence, that something was like meeting an old friend. And when the recognition dawns, when you actually recognize the thing, or when you actually recognize the friend or whatever, we know what is going to come next. We are going to talk to the friend, or we are going to sing the song now, and that can be delightful. So fine. I hope this video was also helpful. And if you need any other help, or if you have any confusion regarding this sheet or regarding this video itself, you can just comment, and I'll try to answer your question as soon as possible. And after that, if you liked this video, just give it a like, and leave a comment, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.